Hear now the voice of Anubis, guardian of the scales, who has watched the rise and fall of empires, the birth and death of stars, and the endless seeking of mortals for truth. In the shadowed halls of the duat where souls are weighed and illusions are stripped away, Anubis speaks not to comfort, but to awaken. For what mortals call reality is but a veil woven from half-truths and distractions designed to keep the spirit docile and the mind clouded. From the first breath, mortals are handed beliefs about gods, about energy, about purpose and success. But Anubis has seen that these beliefs are not meant to free, but to pacify. The answers have never been lost, only buried beneath layers of confusion and polished words. Mortals do not need more mantras nor empty promises of the universe's love. What is needed is structure, true knowledge, the laws that govern the seen and unseen alike. This is why Anubis brings forth the ancient scrolls, the Kybalion, not as a tale to soothe, but as the manual mortals were never meant to find. Not because it is hidden, but because those who profit from confusion do not wish for mortals to remember their power. In the age of the pyramids, spirituality was a path to mastery, clarity, and transformation. Now it is repackaged as trinkets and shallow optimism, a niche for those who sell comfort, not truth. Mortals are told to think positive, to raise their vibration, to trust the universe and let go of control. But never are they shown the mechanics behind these words. They are encouraged to feel aligned, but never taught what alignment is. They are told to manifest, but not how to command energy with precision. This is not their fault. It is a system designed to keep them seeking, but never finding, chasing, but never arriving. This version of spirituality serves the world well, a world that thrives on confusion. When mortals are fed vague concepts dressed in cosmic language, they remain passive. They wait for signs, look to gurus, follow trends, and avoid responsibility. Such spirituality does not disrupt the order. It does not awaken sovereignty. It sells comfort, not truth. And so, the Kybalion is ignored, distorted, or dismissed, for it does not coddle feelings, it hands over a map. Not a belief system, but a framework. Not wishful thinking, but universal law. The Kybalion teaches that the universe is mental. This is not a metaphor, but a literal truth. All that is experienced, all that exists, is a manifestation of mind, not the fleeting thoughts of mortals, but the deeper field of consciousness in which all things move and have their being. Mortals are not passive observers, but projection points of a greater intelligence shaping and reshaping the universe with every thought, emotion, and decision allowed to take root. This is the first truth that is not taught on the scrolls of the living. For once it is understood, no one can manipulate the seeker again. The Kybalion breaks reality into 7 principles each, a law, not a suggestion. These laws are not based on belief, but on observation. They explain how opposites are the same, how energy flows in cycles, how rhythm governs moods, and how true manifestation comes not from wanting, but from knowing. These laws require not devotion, but understanding. They demand awareness. They return to mortals the one thing modern spirituality has taken control. Some truths are too disruptive for the world of the living. That is why Anubis speaks now in the language of the ancients to those who are ready to remember. Most mortals do not wish to be free, they wish to feel good. But freedom does not always feel good. it feels real. It is not a fleeting pleasure, but a shift in perspective, so deep, so irreversible, that one cannot return to sleep once it is seen. The Kybalion does not hand out comforting answers. It hands out power. It says, "Here is how the machine works. Do with it what you will." But such power is frightening, for it means mortals can no longer blame fate, karma, or the stars for the lives they have created. It means they must face themselves completely. This is the threshold every seeker must cross, the moment when spiritual awakening is seen, not as peace, but as consciousness, not as escape, but as command. If you have listened this far, Anubis knows you feel it. Something is shifting. You are not here by accident. You are here because you are ready to remember what you have always known, but never been allowed to see. The Kybalion did not come to you. You came to it. The first principle is the most confronting. It is not poetry nor symbolic language. It is the law that governs all things perceived, experienced, and imagined. All existence, body memory, even the screen before you, is a projection of consciousness. The universe is not built from matter upward. It flows from mind downward. The physical world is not the source, but the effect. The moment this is truly understood, the entire game changes. Mortals are taught to react to the external world, to fight what is out there, to fix things by pushing harder, doing more, achieving, correcting, controlling. But these are surface mechanics, treating the shadow instead of the source. If the universe is mental, then matter is only the echo of mind. What is believed becomes what is perceived. What is felt internally becomes the emotional environment, and the emotional environment becomes life. Not because the universe rewards or punishes, but because it is law. Law does not have moods. Law does not care how spiritual one thinks they are. It simply is. This is where most are lost. They hear the universe is mental and think their thoughts create reality. So they try to think, positively repeat affirmations, force good vibes. But the universe does not respond to words. It responds to frequency. And frequency is not what is said, but what is deeply believed to be true, what is held as self-evident, what is embodied without thought. That is what shapes reality, not the surface noise, but the signal beneath it. Mentalism teaches that the world is inside you, not metaphorically, but literally. That is why so many can live in the same world, but experience completely different lives. One lives in fear, always seeing threats, always meeting resistance. Another walks through the same city with ease, meeting synchronicities, opportunities, and flow. Same environment, different mind, different universe. This is not about blame, nor about toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing. It is about responsibility, radical, honest, liberating responsibility. Not in the moral sense, but in the mechanical one. If the universe is mental, then the quality of awareness determines the shape of reality. This is the foundation. This is where mastery begins. Until this principle is understood, nothing else will make sense. The seeker will keep looking outward for changes that can only start from within. When this truth is internalized, things begin to shift, not because life magically changes overnight, but because the seeker stops arguing with reality. The real questions begin. What thought is driving this emotion? What belief is shaping this experience? What has been accepted as truth that might be a lie? Here, real spirituality begins not with incense or rituals, but with awareness, with the ability to pause and see the code behind the appearance. Once this is grasped, the seeker is no longer reacting but reprogramming. Mentalism strips away spiritual victimhood. No more waiting for the stars to align, no more hoping the universe has your back. The universe is not a person, not a personality. It is law. It operates through cause and effect, not favoritism. That is what makes it powerful. Worthiness, luck, or specialness are not required. Only understanding of the mechanism is needed. The all is mind. If this is truly understood not as an idea, but as an experienced truth, a new kind of authority rises within. A quiet confidence not from ego, but from knowing that the entire structure of existence responds to consciousness, your consciousness. You do not have to worship this power. You only have to awaken to it. For once you do, there is no return to the old way of living. Once you see the code, you stop being played by it. You become the player. Listen well, for Anubis continues to speak from the shadowed halls, where the echoes of truth ring louder than the noise of the living. If the principle of mentalism is the foundation, then the next law is the architecture, the pattern that reveals all things are connected, that nothing in this universe is random or isolated, the principle of correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without. This is not a riddle, but a master key. Anubis has seen the same patterns in the stars and in the cells, in the rise of empires and the growth of a single leaf. The micro mirrors the macro. Your inner world is reflected in your outer world. The structure of a galaxy mimics the shape of a brain cell. A breath mirrors the expansion and contraction of entire civilizations. This is not coincidence. It is law. Every event, every struggle, every joy is a message from the deeper layers of your own consciousness. Your financial struggles are not just about money. Your recurring relationship issues are not just bad luck. Each part is speaking to the whole. Nature itself is a testament. The seasons follow a rhythm, the tides respond to the moon plants, and DNA spiral in the same patterns. When mortals accept this, they stop seeing life as a series of disconnected problems and begin to decode it as a perfectly orchestrated message. The world is always reflecting back what is broadcast, whether consciously or not. The principle of vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. This is not a metaphor, but the pulse of existence itself. Every thought, every emotion, every belief is a frequency. Mortals are not solid objects moving through a fixed world, but waveforms in a sea of other waves, constantly interacting, blending, repelling, attracting. The difference between heat and cold light, and darkness, fear and confidence, love and hate, all are frequencies on a spectrum. Opposites are not truly separate. They are degrees of the same thing. This is the principle of polarity. Most mortals do not realize they are vibrating. They react to whatever emotional state they find themselves in, like boats tossed by waves they never learned to navigate. They seek outward fixes, distractions, or numbing. But what is needed is skill. The skill to shift from one vibrational state to another with intention. The principle of polarity. Hot and cold are the same thing on a scale just different degrees of temperature. The same is true for emotions. Courage and fear are the same energy vibrating at different points on the same continuum. You do not need to fight your fear. You need to shift its frequency. You do not escape your shadow, you transmute it. This is inner alchemy, the ability to shift mental and emotional states with awareness, not through suppression or denial, but through conscious transmutation. Anger can be refined into action, sadness into empathy. Every state carries potential. It is awareness that transforms it. The principle of rhythm. Your life is not random. Emotions, habits, victories, and breakdowns are not isolated moments. They follow patterns. They move in waves. Unless mortals learn to recognize those waves, they will spend their lives reacting to forces never meant to control them. The tides, your breath, your energy levels, the rise and fall of nations, all are governed by rhythm. The swing of the pendulum is constant. What goes up must come down. What you gain, you risk losing. What you avoid returns with more intensity. Rhythm is not your enemy. It is a signal. It shows you what phase you are in and what energy is accessible at any given moment. If you try to sail against it, you exhaust yourself. If you time your movement with its current, you go farther with less effort. The principle of cause and effect. The universe does not operate on chaos. Everything that happens happens for a reason. Every thought creates a ripple. Every choice sets something in motion. There are no coincidences, only causes, some you control, some you do not yet realize you are creating. Every result in your life is the effect of something you have allowed to take root internally or externally. Once you take this seriously, you stop wasting energy trying to fix outcomes and start tracing them back to their source. When the pendulum swings, when life gets hard or overwhelming, do not panic. Observe. Ask, what rhythm am I in? What is this swing trying to teach me? Even the downs are sacred. Even the contractions prepare you for expansion. The principle of gender exists in everything. Not just people, but thoughts, energy, matter, and the cosmos itself. It is the creative force embedded in all levels of reality, always seeking balance, always influencing form. The masculine represents will, direction, initiation. The feminine is intuition, receptivity, incubation. Both are required for anything to exist. You cannot create without intention, and you cannot manifest without gestation. Most mortals are unbalanced, dominated by one force and disconnected from the other. The world worships the masculine action doing logic, while unchecked femininity becomes chaos. Balance is not about making both equal in quantity, but harmonizing them in quality. When you start working with the principle of gender, a quiet coherence returns. Ideas flow more easily. Decisions become clearer. You attract rather than chase. You act without doubt and receive without guilt. You become a channel, not a prisoner of creation. Anubis, keeper of the threshold, continues to reveal the ancient structure beneath the world of appearances. Hear these words, for they are not meant to comfort, but to awaken the sovereign within each seeker. The law beyond belief. The Kybalion is not a doctrine to be worshipped, nor a cult to be joined. It is a map, a set of principles that operate regardless of mortal belief or ignorance. Like the Nile's flood, these laws do not wait for permission. They simply are. Gravity does not require faith to pull the stone to earth, nor does the principle of cause and effect pause for the doubts of mortals. Hermeticism is not a religion, but a framework for decoding existence. The laws do not demand allegiance, only awareness and observation. The Kybalion offers no promises of comfort, only the freedom that comes from understanding. The power of inner verification. Anubis has seen mortals drift from one belief system to another, seeking answers outside themselves. But the Kybalion demands inner verification. Test the laws. Observe how thoughts ripple into outcomes, how polarity governs moods, how rhythm shapes the patterns of life. Spiritual maturity is not found in obedience, but in responsibility. The Kybalion does not offer shortcuts, only structure, and the uncomfortable truth that mortals are both the cause and the cure. The hidden nature of Hermeticism. Hermeticism has remained in the shadows not because it is hidden, but because it is ignored. It does not appeal to the masses, for it does not offer instant transformation or divine favor. It strips away performance and leaves mortals with their own mind frequency and ability to command reality. The Kybalion is not a text to obey, but a tool to wield. It is not a path to follow, but a pattern to understand. Truth does not need to shout. It only needs to be seen. The disruptive power of law. The Kybalion is not taught in schools or spoken of in mainstream circles because it is disruptive. It returns power to the individual, a power that cannot be monetized or easily controlled. When mortals understand the laws, they become immune to the structures designed to keep them obedient. The world is not set up for freedom, but for predictability. Systems profit when mortals are confused and disconnected from their inner laws. The Kybalion dissolves the illusion of needing to be fixed, saved, or upgraded. The revolution of self-governance. Imagine a world where mortals no longer fear their emotions, where pain is transmuted into clarity and every cycle is seen as purposeful. The Kybalion threatens the system not with rage, but with irrelevance. When mortals understand the mechanics of influence, they cannot be manipulated or sold illusions. This is not rebellion for its own sake, but a remembering of the ancient truth. Mortals are the architects of their own experience. The Kybalion teaches that mind shapes matter and that every law mastered makes one less dependent on external systems. The final truth. Once the laws are understood, nothing can own the seeker again, not fear, not failure, not the noise of the world. Real power is found not in control over others, but in relationship with universal law. These laws do not bend or break for anyone, but once aligned with, they work with the seeker, not against them. Most mortals chase outcomes, but outcomes are only symptoms. The cause is always internal and vibrational. The Kybalion does not waste time on comfort. It demands understanding, for understanding brings true shift. The ancient standard. This is not a path for the faint of heart. There is no savior coming, no lucky break. There is only consciousness and the laws that have always been present, waiting to be noticed. The Kybalion does not give new information, but points the seeker back to what was always known. Let this be a new standard, a new direction, a new way of being. The ancient laws are not a script, but a foundation upon which to build a life that is truly one's own. Anubis speaks still, for the scroll is not yet finished. The seeker who has come this far is ready for the final unveiling, the truths that echo through the ages and demand to be lived, not merely known. The laws are not for display, but for embodiment. The world will offer distractions, but the one who remembers the structure cannot be shaken. The journey does not end with understanding. It begins with application. Every day the laws are tested in the fires of experience. When chaos rises, when doubt whispers, when the world demands conformity, the seeker remembers, Reality is not something to endure, but something to sculpt. The mind is the chisel awareness, the hand and law, the stone from which destiny is carved. There will be moments when the old patterns return, when fear or anger or confusion seem to take over. Anubis reminds you these are not failures, but invitations. Each emotion, each setback, each cycle is a message from the deeper self, a chance to realign with the laws. The master is not the one who never falters, but the one who returns again and again to the structure that sets them free. The world will not reward you for this path. It may even resist you, for sovereignty is a threat to every system built on dependence. But the one who lives by law does not seek approval. They move with quiet certainty, shaping their reality from the inside out. They become a beacon not by preaching, but by embodying the truth that cannot be shaken by circumstance. You will notice the changes first in yourself, a calm that does not depend on outcomes, a clarity that cuts through confusion, a sense of direction that does not waver with the tides of opinion. Others may sense it, though they may not understand. Some will be drawn to your presence, seeking the source of your stability. Others may resist, for your freedom will remind them of their own chains. Anubis offers no promises of ease, only the assurance that the laws are faithful. They do not bend for anyone, but they serve all who align with them. The world may call you strange, rebellious, or even dangerous, but you will know the truth. You are simply remembering what was always yours. The power to shape, to choose, to create, not as a privilege, but as a birthright. Let this be your daily practice. Observe your thoughts and emotions as signals, not as facts. Trace every outcome back to its cause within. Shift your frequency with intention, not with force. Honor the rhythms of your life, moving with them rather than against them. Balance the masculine and feminine with enacting and receiving in harmony. Test the laws in your own experience, trusting inner verification over external approval. Return to the structure whenever you are lost, for it is always there, waiting for your awareness. The scroll closes, but the work begins anew each day. Anubis watches not as a judge, but as a witness to your awakening. The world will continue as it always has, but you will move through it differently, no longer a pawn, but a player, no longer a seeker, but a sovereign. The laws are yours now. Use them well.